is something that's very unique and special. And we all, regardless of our point of origin or what we look to do with our careers and our lives, we live in a very powerful time where there are tools and resources available to transport us anywhere all over the world and work with people all over the world. And if you think about it, we are just a collection of our thoughts and ideas. And the fact that I can have so much experience and send that to you through a binary medium and have it come out the other side, and you can take that in and make that part of your thoughts and your experience. We are truly becoming an interconnected global culture, and that's something I'm very proud to be a part of, and that's something I'm looking to nourish and grow as much as I can with the work that I do. So for everybody who is in here now, it's a pleasure to be speaking to you and with you and answering your questions. So I just look forward to getting started.
I think right now a lot of people had already joined, so let's start it. First of all, I would like to tell you that in first 2-3 minutes, Brandon will introduce himself to the audience, and after that we will start a question answer session for you. And so over to Brandon. Brandon, you can introduce yourself.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, hello everyone. Again, my name is Brandon Johnson. I am a script writer and author. I live in Chicago in the United States, and I have been working actively as a script writer, screenwriter, and author for about 10 years. I have been on the Fiverr platform for about 5 years, where I have had the opportunity to work a lot and work my way up to being on Fiverr a top-rated seller, and I was one of the first earlier sellers on Fiverr Pro, and I have had the opportunity to watch the Fiverr platform and freelance and the gig economy in general really grow a lot over the last few years. And if you look at how global markets are reacting to Fiverr's growth, I think it is, without a shred of doubt, it is a cultural force that is here to stay. And nonetheless, when I do these events, I'm always, wherever they are in the world, I'm always meeting people and talking to people who either have not heard of Fiverr before, or they're interested in giving it a try, or they're just getting started. And what that tells me is that this is an amazing time to get involved with freelance and build your business and your presence through freelance, because if a lot of people are still coming to it as fresh faces and wanting to learn about it, then there's room for explosive growth. So a little bit more about myself. When I started on Fiverr, I was working on commercial shoots, and I was writing advertisements for businesses in and around Chicago for the purposes of doing internet videos, explainer videos, commercials that ended up going on network television channels and local channels. And there were a lot of pain points, and there were a lot of struggles in not only generating clients and sustaining that business, but managing the process of the work, making sure that everyone got paid. There were so many pieces that were a struggle to maintain on top of simply doing the work. And so when I found Fiverr, I was really surprised, because here was this platform that was going to be able to take care of all of those problems and pain points that came with generating customers, buyers, clients, and managing the work, communication. And on top of that, Fiverr and the gig economy and freelance in general was this opportunity where I could do a ton of work and I could do what I love. And the sentiment that I have always followed is that if you do what you love, you would do it for free. So to get paid on top of that was really incredible. And I also saw it as an opportunity to really hone my skills and consistently work and get better at what I was doing and grow from there. So with no expectations, I started, and orders started coming in. And from there, everything just continued to grow and grow. And I continued to deliver 1,000% of my work and energy into every order. And it simply grew from there. And I think that's what Fiverr and freelance and the gig economy really represents, is it's this global equalizer of skill and talent and ability, where if you are willing to work and put in the energy, and if you are willing to put in 110% of yourself, you can do anything. So from there, I have been able to bring clients either to Fiverr or take client relationships that started on Fiverr. And I've been able to work on projects all over the world. I have been able to bring my work in film and entertainment into my work with freelance and vice versa. And I think that is evidence that freelance platforms and large scale media and entertainment are converging, and a very beautiful world of work is evolving, that wherever you are in the world, you can work with all levels of clients, and you can set your own potential earnings, and you can determine the kind of future that you would like to have. And that very much has been the experience I have gone for with my pursuits through freelance and Fiverr and my career. And those are the kinds of experiences and the kind of motivation and little morsels of inspiration that I look to impart through events like these and the people that I have the pleasure of meeting and talking to. So with that, I would like to answer a number of your questions that you've shared. I very much value the question and answers portion of these events, because like I'm doing now, I can sit here and I can talk for a long time, but that may be great, but I want to make sure that you are getting something out of this that is really valuable to you. And that's why we were able to source questions before this, and that's why I'm going to answer them now. So, all throughout this event, I would invite you to submit more questions. Please, Shaz, if you could speak with me and share some of your experience as well, question to question, if you would like.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Brendan. And it's really great to hear about you as well. And right now, I will start with the questions, as there are a lot of new faces here. Some people who want to start their freelancing career, and there are some already experienced people as well. So first, I would like to ask you, there are some new people who want to start freelancing as a career. So what would you suggest to those people who want to start freelancing as a career? What kind of thing they should do, or what kind of skills they need to learn? I would like to ask you.
Sure. If you're looking to start in freelance, the major currency of freelance is 1, communication, and 2, always putting your best foot forward and doing the highest level of work possible. Why are those the 2 defining criteria of how you can scale your career in freelance? Well, communication is going to be what empowers you to earn more, gain more clients, and grow your presence on any platform that you're on, or just in any freelance career. if you are effectively communicating what you need in order to do the job that you're looking to do, then that prompts your buyers and clients to give you the information so that you can do a good job. It sounds incredibly simple, but it really is one of the defining criteria of whether your orders and projects will be successful or not. Let me give you an example. Let's say there's somebody who's done 1,000 orders before, and a potential client or buyer reaches out to them and they say, I'm looking for a website to be developed and designed, and go for it, okay? So this person who has done 1,000 orders before, they're probably great at what they do. But if that's their only method and that's their only, if that's the only example of their communication, this really talented person could go out and produce and develop and design and publish a beautiful website that has all the frills and thrills and features, but it could completely backfire because they haven't communicated enough with their client about what the client is actually looking for. And that's time wasted, that's money wasted, and that's, you know, bad for your brand and reputation. So then let's take somebody who talks to the same client then. That client looks at the really talented 1,000 order person and says, you know, this wasn't really for me, thanks for your time, but I'm gonna go over here. And so they go and talk to somebody who has never worked on any projects, but this new freelancer has the foresight to look at what it takes for them to design and develop and publish and put out a website. And they write down questions of, what do you want this to look like? What are the important details that you want to put on the website? What other company and product names do you have? How do you vision your brand? Do you have videos and audio files that can be put into the website? What is your logo? What is your color scheme for your company and brand? Because that person communicates effectively, they are going to be able to create a website that is more straightforward and simple. They're going to save time, and in the same way, they will be able to look at all of that customized information, and they'll actually be able to send a higher quote because they'll be able to look at that information and say, I'm going to design custom to what you've presented me. And by doing that, the person who has effective communication but less experience is going to end up doing a better job than the, you know, very well vetted and experienced and talented person who's done this thousands of times. So I would just say, if you're new, think about what it is you want to be selling and think about how long it takes you to complete your work. Think about all the different ways, if we keep using a website as an example. Think about all the facets of development that go into how you create your websites, and then price your work accordingly so that your time is adequately compensated while still over-delivering on what your client wants. Because if you do that, you're always going to have positive outcomes. There are many other things that you can do to get a strong start if you're just getting into freelance now. We can talk about many of them. One thing that I'm going to say right now is that after this event is over, I'm going to forward a number of materials to Shazz to distribute to everybody else. One of them is a free Fiverr Learn course that I helped author with Fiverr on successful freelance strategies, particularly with Fiverr, and how you can get started, how you can build your profile, and how you can set yourself up for success. It's a free course. It's very informational and covers a wealth of topics that will really help you. And again, it's free. And because I was involved with the writing of the course, I can advocate for its credibility and the fact that I was able to bring a lot of my own experiences in building up my presence through freelance into the course. So that will also be coming your way. However, we can, in this environment here, we can cover a few other things. If you are just getting started, one of the most helpful things you can do is go on the Fiverr platform and on the marketplace and just look at what other really successful freelancers are doing. It's very easy to go on Fiverr or any freelance platform, but Fiverr's design is very straightforward and intuitive. It's very easy to just go on there, find your category and your subcategory, anything that you're looking to sell, anything that you're looking to bring your skills into and build your gigs upon. And you can look at top-rated sellers, pro sellers. You can look at how they're describing their services and their gigs and their packages and what they're doing. You can look at how they're pricing their work, and you can view samples of their work as well. And honestly, that gives you everything that you need to succeed in your own unique way. So you can look at the quality of work and how it's being priced and how they're describing it. And you can scale that to the level of work that you're looking to put out. And you can adjust your prices accordingly. And you can take what successful sellers are doing, and you can then describe what you're doing in your own way. And you can create a profile very easily that way. At the same time, there are also metric-driven things that you can do. Fiverr and the freelance marketplace and the gig economy in general is very algorithm-driven. So I would recommend looking at SEO, search engine optimization, and looking for the tags and words that are most relevant to the services that you're looking to provide, and fill your profile and your gig descriptions and your packages with those words. Because then when somebody is coming onto Fiverr and they say, oh, I need a script, or I need a voiceover or an explainer video, and they type that in, you want your profile and you want your gigs to show up right at the top of the search results. Another thing you can do, and some of this may seem counterintuitive, but over a long period of time, these things have statistically proven to be effective. Profiles and gigs where the seller shows their face and they're able to look at the camera, that has proven to be really effective. And here's why. I think that a lot of people, a lot of businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs, startups, people with their individual projects, they come to freelance platforms because they're looking to actually connect with people. They're not looking to call up or send cold messages or try to connect with companies, and then they'll go into a funnel where they may not have oversight on where their communication is going. They're looking to work with an individual who can be a fantastic creative problem solver, who can make everything happen for them in the way that they want it to happen. And so think of your interactions online with prospective clients and buyers as meeting them in person. So don't be afraid to put your face on your gig photos and your profile. Then at the same time, don't be afraid to write what you are offering. Let me start that over. A great profile picture and a great gig picture will contain a picture of you on one half, looking right at the camera and being your most affable, approachable self, because that's going to get people to say, okay, that person looks approachable, they look happy. I mean, we talk about these things and they sound really simple, but they're remarkably effective. And so if you're smiling and you're being engaging on one half, right here, all the way down, you can just say web development, SEO, graphic design, just putting legibly so that the prospective client or buyer can read what you're writing. You can say exactly what you're providing so that when they see search results and charts of sellers, they're going to be able to see your face. They're going to be able to engage with you directly that way. And they're going to be able to see not just your gig title, but they're going to be able to see other pieces of what you're selling. And they're going to be able to make an informed decision as to whether they purchase from you or not. And that really is one of the most, that goes back to communication, right? If you empower prospective clients and buyers to reach that purchase decision as fast as possible, or empower them to decide whether or not they want to engage with you further, the faster that you can do that, the faster that you will be able to generate orders. The last thing I would say is that another thing that has been statistically proven over a longer period of time to be really successful is putting your name in your using your name as your username. And the reason for that is the same reason as why using your picture and your face and just being genial and smiling and just being engaging is so effective. Again, a lot of people are coming to freelance platforms to work with professional sellers and work with highly rated sellers. And they're also looking to work with individual people who can be fantastic creative problem solvers. So if your image is a black background with a logo and nothing else, and it's, FX Media Corp with a high price tag, that may not be as effective as just saying, hi, David Web Development. I know that's a very simple example, but David's Web Development, where you can see David, you can immediately see what he's offering, and you can see his prices. One of those is just much more approachable than the other. So that right away, that's a number of different things that you can do immediately to make yourself more approachable and put your best foot forward. So effective communication 100% of the time. Asking your prospective clients and buyers what they need to provide you. Telling your prospective buyers and clients what they can provide you to do the best job. Search engine optimization when writing your profile description, your gig descriptions, and your packages. Show your face. Use your moneymaker, right? Putting your name, using your name as your username and in your profile, and also stating your services in your gig photos. Those are all things that you can do to put your best foot forward and set yourself up for success, especially if you're just starting out. Would you add anything to that?
Yeah. Then a lot of people are here are asking one of the most common and most asked question, which I would like you to answer. And the question is that how to become a pro seller and what are the requirements?
Okay. So Fiverr Pro started a couple years ago. I think I had been on the platform for about 3 years. So my path to Fiverr Pro is that I had always reached for doing the highest level work that I could. and I had always been eager to get involved with things like this, community development. And I had also been vocal about the work I had done in the past, and the creative and development work that I had done for film and television projects, and feature screenplays and pilot scripts and things like that. And of course, all the commercial work I had been doing previous to being on Fiverr, and everything I've done since then, and everything that I've done on Fiverr. So my path to pro was simply that. Pro is something that, to my knowledge, is handpicked. I do know that in the past, and I believe they do this cyclically, that they will take Fiverr Pro submissions, if that's the right word. You would be able to apply to be a Fiverr Pro. I know that they've done that in the past. So whether they continue to do that, when they do that again, and or if it's something that is simply handpicked going forward, that's a great question. What can you do? And it really just comes down to the work. So if you have worked with clients in the past outside of Fiverr, and if you've shown that you are able to scale projects from start to finish, finding your own clients, completing the work, and delivering high quality work, then that shows that you have the professionalism to do everything on Fiverr and operate in the way that the Fiverr platform works. Because what's so great about Fiverr, right? It's this ecosystem of clients and buyers working with sellers in a very streamlined and unified way. So if you are able to show that in your career and outside of Fiverr, you are able to build your own ecosystem, that is what makes you a professional in addition to having a high quality level of work. And so if you are able to show both of those things, then you should be a good candidate for Fiverr Pro. However, I think the Fiverr Pro and taking the quality of professional work on the Fiverr platform higher and higher is something that Fiverr and any company would want to do. The nature of which and how often they're bringing sellers on to Fiverr Pro, I do not know. I wish I had a crystal ball, because then that would help so many people who ask this question. But the reality of it is, you've been able to apply for it before, and you may be able to do that now, and they may be taking more submissions in the future. So I would just think of Fiverr Pro as something that is an end goal or another step or another part of your journey, and you're currently in your training montage towards Fiverr Pro. And what that means is that you're just consistently increasing the quality of work and service that you provide. And regardless of Fiverr Pro or not, if you continue to focus on growing the quality of your work in that way, success will come to you regardless.
Okay, Brendan, you have already told us many tips which can help us to optimize our gig as well. But a lot of people are asking a question that how we can rank our gig, because there is a lot of competition. If someone is working on SEO or as a graphic designer or as an article writer, there is a lot of competition. So how we can rank our gig? What are some tips you would like to recommend to the audience?
Sure. Ranking your gigs. So are you asking about how to get higher up on the search results?
Yeah.
Well, the honest answer to that is that it comes down to the work that you're putting out. And very much the core of the answer is in the name of, it is in the question itself, which is search engine optimization. So I would go, this is something that I would not be afraid of saying. I would go and look at the top search results that are in the category that you're in, see what those sellers are tagging themselves as, because those are simply going to be the search tags that are going to create the largest number of hits and search results, and they're going to be reflective of what prospective clients and buyers are looking for. Always, when you're doing your gig description, don't be afraid to use the words that are going to drive search engine optimization. But, for your profile and your gigs, always make your text unique to you. Tell your story, talk about what you're specifically going to provide. Like I said, you can always look at what top-rated sellers are doing, but always, use your own voice in creating your own gigs. But when it comes to search engine optimization, feel free to just take the search terms that are having the highest search results. And beyond that, the answer goes back to the facts of what make a platform like Fiverr and the freelance gig economy so great. This opportunity through freelance is this grand equalizer of skill and talent and ability, and people who are looking to put their best foot forward, and people who aren't afraid to work very hard. So if you respond to inquiries in an expedient manner, and if you communicate effectively, and if you provide and deliver and over-deliver on what you say you are going to deliver, all of those things are going to keep your statistics. It's just going to keep the quality of your work as high as it can be. And those factors are also going to feed into how you land on search result pages. And don't be afraid of that, because at the end of the day, you can view your statistics as something of a like, oh no, my statistics are changing, they're going up and down, what's going on. You can view things that way, or you can view it the other way, where if your statistics are not where you want them to be, think about it in terms of, how can I improve what I'm doing in order to be 100% all the time? What is it going to take for me to do better work and provide better outcomes? Because all of that is eventually and immediately, quite frankly, that's going to impact how you appear in search results, and that will increase the rank of your gig.
That's great. I hope a lot of people have got this. And the next question I want to ask you is, as you are a writer as well, so a lot of people are here asking this question, that how we can convince a buyer. Like, as you can see there, that there is a buyer request option as well on Fiverr. And so what are the tips to convince buyer for order or selling something?
You're asking about sending custom offers and proposals and things like that? Okay. So that's a great question, because what we're getting into here, is really the finesse and the power of communication, right? We keep going back to the fact that communication is such an important thing. Communicating effectively with new prospective buyers and clients and new inquiries that you get. It's no secret that you want to convert those new inquiries and prospective clients and buyers into new orders as fast as possible. So the quick response, the auto response feature is your best friend. So like we were talking about with sending something like a questionnaire that in a very bullet point manner lists out the questions that you need answered in order to do the best job possible for the services that you're going to provide. Think about that, but then shrink it down. What's the one thing or two things that you need to know from a prospective buyer in order to send them a custom offer? So even if a prospective buyer messages you, and we'll talk about script writing since that's where I have most of my experience. Even if a prospective buyer reaches out and says, hey, can you write a script? That really doesn't tell you anything, right? But that happens all the time. So that can either be a detriment to your ability to get an order started, or that could be your springboard for success. So what do you do if somebody just says, hi? Well, they're reaching out to you, a script writer, so they've got to know that at least. So if you know what your services are, which you do, you can have an auto response or custom quick response ready to go that gives a warm welcome, thanks them for talking to you, and then immediately asks how long I want to make this as general as possible so that I can reach as many people as possible. So you can have a custom quick response that you can immediately send back that gives them a warm welcome, thanks them for communicating with you, and then you can ask, what are you looking to work on? And then you can just fill in whatever your service or gig is. And that's like creating a miniature call to action, right? Because then if they tell you, I need a landing page, even if they write hi, then you send your call to action direct response and they say, I need a landing page, then that should tell you everything that you need to know. And you can send a custom offer right then and there. And so what happens is you go from, this could be something where if they say hi, you say hi, you don't have custom quick responses already ready to go. There's like a phase of getting to know each other. They're like, what are you looking for? What do you need? Do you also want this? Forget about all of that, because every time that you send a message, and I don't mean to sound so dire, but the honest truth is, every time you send a message that isn't a custom offer, you're giving people an opportunity to decide that they're not interested anymore, right? So whatever you can do to ask very simple, straightforward questions that can define what you need in order to send a custom offer, I would do that, and do that quickly. So for instance, if somebody reaches out to me and says, hey, we're looking for this, and this, I can read their response. And if they don't tell me already, what are the defining criteria of how scriptwriters look at projects? I mean, there's second length for a script, there's word count, there's all kinds of things. So if you know what those defining criteria are, you can write back and say, how long do you want this to be? What minute length do you have in mind? Just short questions that can give you everything you need information-wise to send a custom offer. That is the basic idea that will do most of the work for you. If people place orders directly with you without reaching out to you first in your message thread, always have order requirements set up. Have a questionnaire ready to go. Like we were talking about earlier, the brand new seller who knows to communicate effectively and ask questions about what the buyer wants is the one who's going to succeed. So if a buyer places an order with you and they if they don't give you any information, time passes, then you're in crunch time and you don't know what you need. So always have order requirements set up. Have your questionnaire automatically set up. Then smaller things. Always address them by name. Think of it back to the fact of treating your digital interactions like interactions that are happening in real life. When you address somebody by their name, that's a warm welcome and something that they're gonna respond to. And if they don't give their name, just use their username. It's the same thing. That's how they want to be. That's how they want to identify themselves online. And you can always, it may sound antiquated, but it's professional. If you're reaching out to them, if they message you for the first time and you reach back out, don't be afraid to sign your name at the bottom, like you're sending a letter back. That kind of personalization is going to foster their engagement with you. It's going to build rapport, and it's going to build a relationship. Like I said in the very beginning, we are all just our thoughts and experiences, and we're broadcasting them out into this little camera, and it's being translated into a binary language, and that comes out on the other end as something that your clients and buyers perceive with their thoughts and experiences. So creating that bridge and being warm and receptive and direct and personal is going to do a lot of favors for you. What would you add to that?
Yeah, I think you are telling accurately. These things are needed to be done if you are if you are approaching to a client. Then I think that you should have something that can attract the client. Like you have already told us that use the quick response option as well, and use talk with the client with his name or username which he is using. So yeah, definitely these things can work really well. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me can I add a couple of other things?
Yeah.
So I apologize. I realized we were talking about proposals in their entirety. So let's cover a few other things. The nature of commerce, really, in general, not to get too out there or philosophical. The nature of commerce is such that we are primed to try to over-deliver and undercharge in the fastest, timeline possible. And really, that's an unsustainable model, because what that results in is people undercutting each other and themselves, charging less and less and less. And then that ultimately degrades the work product, and all kinds of negative outcomes come out of that. So what I would say is, when you're sending your proposal, do not be afraid to charge what you think your work is actually worth, or more. Like a question that I get a lot of the time is, does with freelance and the gig economy and Fiverr and platforms, how do you charge hourly? That seems to be a common question. So the answer to that is, well, you don't necessarily have hourly rates through the gig economy or a platform like Fiverr, but that's your strength. Because you can just think about your overall price tag, what you're charging, as your hourly rate. So think about your projects and think about how much time that project will take you, calculate your hourly rate, then add 10 or 20% as contingency in case it requires more time or more revisions. And you can send that overall price tag in your custom offer. And that's what makes something like Fiverr so powerful, is that it operates in a very similar way to something like Amazon, where people can search for exactly what they're looking for, see what it is, see who they're getting it from, see what it costs, and just click it once to buy it. That's awesome. That's so awesome. So don't be afraid to charge what you think your work is worth and your value.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question here. As there are a lot of new people are here as well. When we talk about competition, if someone is working on, let's suppose if someone want to provide a service like he want to sell his website creation service. Right now he's new, he have just joined Fiverr and he just saw that lot of thousands of people are already providing website creation service, and they are charging some kind of reasonable price. And if the person is new, he know that if I will set the price of my service like $100, $200 or $500, people will not trust me because I don't have any review. And right now I am not in situation like to charge something more than the regular price. So what do you recommend, that if someone is new, can he provide service at lowest cost just to get some trust? What's your views about that?
Yeah, that is very true, and that is evidence of a competitive marketplace, which is good, because you want to be in a competitive marketplace as opposed to a flat marketplace, right? So being in a competitive marketplace is good. What I would say is, what was the service that you were talking about?
Website creation.
Okay. So that's a lot of different things at once, which could have a much higher price tag, right? And so if you don't have a lot of reviews, and you haven't done many orders, it's just a fact that that's less credibility that you can potentially show, regardless of how good you are at your craft. So if you don't want to dip down in terms of price, I would do a few different things. First, look at things that you can immediately do around you with the resources around you to bolster your credibility. So put your best work samples on your profile and in your gigs to show the kind of quality of work that you're putting out. That's number one. And if you're first, whether you have those assets and those work examples, or if you're just starting out, another thing you can do is on your profile, you can list any kind of certifications, degrees. You can take online courses through Fiverr Learn. You can show your prominence, and you can show your aptitude in all of the services that you're looking to provide. And people can see that you're great at what you're doing. So there are many resources at your disposal in order to leverage your credibility. Then there's something that's more innovative, or something that you can do that will actually really help you long term. So if you're doing web development and web design, that means that there are many different services you can provide. So think greater than an overall gig that offers web design in total, because that may be a much higher price tag. But if you piece out all of those things that go into what you do with web design, and you make those individual gigs, those are orders and gigs that could have packages that are much lower and much more accessible to prospective clients and buyers. And there are many buyers that want to work with new sellers and want to work with people who are not really busy, or want to work with sellers who are new, want to work with people with fresh ideas. So if you make individual gigs, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for success, because you're going to reach more prospective clients and buyers who are not looking for the whole thing, but they're looking for individual pieces, and they're looking to pay lower price points, which you'll then be able to provide. Then you can convert those customers into repeat loyal customers across all of your gigs and your greater gigs and packages for overall website design. And then as your freelance presence continues to grow, you won't just have one website design and development gig that is doing well. You'll have a bunch that are doing really well. And that's just like building a moat around your business. And you'll be insulating yourself with more search results, more views, more click conversions, and you'll just do better and better and better on the platform. And the last thing I would say to that is, even though what I'm about to say is the opposite of what I just said, there is a lot to say about the idea that prominence begets prominence. And there are clients and buyers who are willing to pay more, whether or not you're new, because the sentiment, you get what you pay for, has been around forever, and it's usually true. So if you want to have your gigs, cost more, you don't have to be afraid of that, because there are plenty of clients and buyers who are knowledgeable of the fact that what you put in is what you get out.
Yeah, sure. And one of the most asked question is that how we can promote our gigs outside Fiverr. Like we have the option of promoting our gigs outside Fiverr. We can use other social media platform as well. Is there any platform or strategy you would recommend to audience?
Yeah, you can use Fiverr Anywhere. That's a great tool. Fiverr Anywhere empowers you to have the one-stop shop, single-click order experience on. I believe it's any website where you can embed Fiverr Anywhere. I don't know if it's any website, but it's Fiverr Anywhere is something that you can embed, where it basically shows your gig and your packages, or a package and gig that you select, that people can click on, and it will go directly to your gig page, so that even outside of Fiverr, people can see what you're offering and then get directly to it. At the same time, you can just talk about what you're doing. You can promote what you're doing on places like LinkedIn and social media. And that can just raise your presence of what you're doing. And being active and vocal and talking about what you're doing is going to raise awareness, and that's naturally going to generate more traction. However, what I would say is that almost no matter what kinds of promotions you do off of Fiverr or freelance platforms in general, people are going to then come to the platform to find you, right? So ultimately, the kinds of things that you can do to best support yourself are the things that we've talked about this whole time. Because if they see, let's say they see your Fiverr anywhere, or they hear you talking about your website design or your script writing or your graphic design or voiceover work, whatever you're providing, they then will come to Fiverr and type in what they're looking for or try to find you. And it's going to be the search results all over again. So really, outside promotion is very much tied to on platform and intrinsic and internal work product and motivation and what you are delivering on a regular basis. It just goes back to the idea that the high quality work that you're putting out, that's the domino effect, or that's the Higgs-Boson particle, or whatever is the start point of the rest of your success. It ultimately comes from what you're putting out.
Okay, that's great. And the next question is from Shiza Hanif. She's asking that as you are one of the most talented and most experienced person on Fiverr, so she wanted to ask that what are the most common mistakes you have seen on people services providing on Fiverr? Like what are the mistakes they are doing while creating their gig or approaching to the buyer?
That's a great question, because there are definitely things that I have started doing specific to freelance and the gig economy, things that I've learned and things that I've started doing over the last couple of years, and the outcome is always the same. My response is, wow, why didn't I start doing that years ago, right? As just a general note, often as individuals, we find ourselves perhaps intimidated by change, or trying new things, especially on digital, with digital services and platforms and things, because perhaps we've found that what we've tried has worked, and thus we don't want to change it, or what we've read about and seen other people doing works, and we want to do that and not change it. But I would say that if you're new, I wouldn't be afraid of charging more. I wouldn't be afraid of being more direct about what you want to offer. You know, with your proposal and your custom order, just specifically define exactly what it is you're going to deliver, because the problem that you run into is that if you don't define that very specifically, perhaps because you don't want to sound too rigid, you want to sound more open to doing a greater, better job. You can always do those things, but if you're very specific about what you're going to deliver, once you do that, then the job is done. I mean, you've completed what you've said you were going to set out to do. And so I wouldn't be afraid of charging more for what you think you're worth, being very specific about what you want to provide. And there are many other things that I see other buyers and sellers do that I would advise against. I would not send custom offers until you really understand what the buyer or client is looking for. And it really can be as simple as what we were talking about earlier, where if you know how to communicate the defining criteria of what you need to know to send a custom offer, that may be it. But I've seen a lot of people just send blanket custom offers out or something like that, and that comes back to hurt you because you don't you don't necessarily know really what you're getting into. So, you know, if they send you brief material, feel free to read that and look through and just make sure that you're on board and ready to do the job. And the last thing I'll say is a lot of people, and this is a language to language thing, but a lot of people use shorthand and internet speak. And I know that this is all on the internet, but you know, be professional. It may feel antiquated, but it helps 100%. Just write with the best sentence structure and grammar that you can, whether it's in English or your own language, or wherever you are in the world. Just be as strong with your writing as you can be, because that is evidence of strong and good communication and clarity of communicating what you want and what you need. And that's only going to help you. So as easy as it may seem or feel to just like be shorthand because you're moving fast, like take the time to be articulate and write clearly, because that's going to set you up to succeed.
That's great. One of another question is from Sidra, and she want to ask that can you recommend us some tips to become a content writer or story writer?
Yes, of course. When it comes to writing, either for commercial scripts or something that's more creative and storytelling driven, something for an intended medium like film or television or novelization projects and things like that, short stories. Regardless of what you're looking to do as a writer, I'd like to make this as concise as possible, because writing is something that is so diverse and broad, and everybody's story is different, and everybody's message that they're trying to tell is inherent to their experience. As a writer, your job, and I'm going to go off the cuff here. So your job and your influence as a writer is to present information that compels the reading audience or the viewing audience to either continue engaging with the content, or it should inspire them to go do something else. And I think the over the hill moment, or the hurdle that a lot of writers get over eventually, that then transforms their work into something that's writing to then becoming something that's much more engaging and compelling, is that they take the information of what they are looking to provide on behalf of a company or a corporate entity or a project or a startup, or the information or story and plot within something of fiction. They take the information and they flip it, and they think about how they will want to engage emotionally, how they're going to want to speak to what their readers or viewers want in their lives. And how can they make that information, that call to action, that turning the page, the next chapter, how can they turn that end goal into something that the audience has to explore more? How can it engage with them emotionally? So when you're selling something like toothpaste, right? If you're selling toothpaste, what are you selling? Like, are you selling something with fluoride that is going to protect your enamel and you'll brush and you'll have a brighter, whiter smile? Yeah, you are. But what else are you selling? You're selling confidence. because if people can smile and feel confident, then that's going to improve their quality of life. They're going to naturally do better in their work because they're going to have a part of them that they can automatically feel confident in. They are going to be more approachable in potential relationships and friendships. It's communicating to parents and to parents that if their children are taking care of themselves, that they're going to have better health and they're going to grow up and have better lives. And if they don't have dental problems, it's going to save money in the bank for the parents. There are so many things that go into a 30-second commercial that don't necessarily go into a 30-second commercial, right? But they're in there. So the way that you tell the story and the way that you engage with the emotional sensibilities of your audience, that is when writing transforms beyond delivering information and simply delivering an experience or an emotion that will compel people to engage 100 times more than simply hearing that a product does this or a story says this and they think, oh, that's interesting to me. So I would just think of your writing in terms of how are you engaging emotionally? What kinds of problems are you solving for your audience far beyond the problems that the product or the story is directly saying that it's going to solve?
That's great. Do we have time for some more quick questions?
Yeah, let's do, can we do 2 more?
Yeah, sure. The next question is from Junaid Haris, and he's saying, I have seen in many gigs that people offer unlimited revisions, even in gigs which don't need this. Does this strategy work for getting more orders?
It really comes down to the individual. So I wouldn't think about it so much as a strategy that works for generating orders. I would just think about what you are selling and what you want to provide. That's what it ultimately comes down to. Because if you're, let's keep going back to the website example. If you're doing full-on website design and development, that's like 1,000 things. So if you're offering unlimited revisions, you're saying like, I'm willing to do a lot. And every client and buyer is different, but some people are going to really want that. And I just wouldn't be, again, I wouldn't be afraid of going back to the proposal, just being really specific and stating exactly what you're going to do. If you've been designing websites for a while, you know how much time, you know how much time things take, and you know how much it would take to do revisions. And I would think for what you're charging, just align what you're charging with what you're willing to do. Now, with different kinds of sellers and different kinds of gigs, if unlimited revisions doesn't necessarily impact the overall amount of work that you would need to do, then I wouldn't be afraid of saying that that's a show of good faith, that you're willing to work with clients and buyers to fulfill your vision at the highest level. And then that's going to create the best outcome in the end. So I would think of it in terms of how can revisions empower you to do your best work and create the best experiences for your clients and buyers. But at the same time, think about how much time and energy and effort revisions are going to take and scale accordingly. Because even if for full-on website design and development, unlimited revisions would be a sign of good faith, having the work deteriorate on a longer timeline would be a detriment to the outcome. So just think about how much you are able to do and scale accordingly.
That's great. And the last question is from Ali Hamza. He's asking that let's suppose if we have created a service related graphic designing, and we also know about some other services like WordPress, creating website on WordPress or SEO service. So if a person know 2, 3, or 4 services, so what would be the best strategy to sell all these kind of services, or just sell one services in which he is really good?
I would say that you can do both. Honestly, I would say that this goes back to what we were talking about before with if you have a more expensive gig, and then versus having individual gigs that cover all the parts that go into the larger gig, right? So what the gig economy presents and what freelance presents is an opportunity for you to do as much work and grow your presence as much as you want. So I would just say that having more gigs and giving yourself more opportunities to land in more search results is going to empower you to have more impressions, click-throughs, potential orders, and you can always upsell, right? So if somebody comes to, let's use the website example. If you have full-scale web development and design, but then you also have all the individual components, if somebody sends you a message related to one of these gigs, you can then say, okay, well, great. I'd be happy to work on that with you. What is this for? Are you looking for a larger website? And they may say, yeah, we're just looking at building our business's presence and so on and so on. You can immediately say, oh, well, if you want to do something larger, this is what I provide. Have you seen this? Is this right for you? And you'll be able to upsell. So thinking about having many different gigs is an opportunity for you to reach more people and then also have more ways to have more orders and engage with buyers on a higher level and upsell your work.
Okay, that's great, Brendan. And I want to thank you for coming to this session and this event. And you have already told us some valuable tips and a lot of knowledgeable things. So thank you very much, Brendan, for giving us your valuable time. And I hope that there are a lot of more questions, and we can do next session as well if you have time in
absolutely.
Upcoming days. So thank you very much for giving us your time, and I think that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for hosting. I hope that everyone is getting questions answered that can empower them to feel more confident about what they're doing. Ultimately, much of the immediacy of scalability and the magic of freelance is that for the first time in human history, really, we are more set to define the work that we do in the future in a larger and more global way than we ever have before. And that's why we're able to have this dialogue. And that's really, really important to me. And I appreciate you saying that it's great that I'm able to share valuable time. But the way that I see this is that the time that I lend here can hopefully empower other people to better invest their time and their energy in a way that sets them up to have more success on a much, much longer timeline. And that's really what these tools and resources are here for, where this is just a starting point and the next step for great work that we can go out and do, great relationships that we can start, and incredible projects that we can be a part of. And helping develop that is something that I'm very happy to do. So thank you to everybody here for attending today and being a part of this. And I would be more than happy to do this again. And I hope to see you all soon.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.